A Doberman battles a Jaguar to expose a trafficking ring, led by a cop's grit. Will justice prevail? Like, subscribe, and hit the bell for our latest heart-pounding tales. A guttural snarl tore through the night, halting Marcus Reed mid-step, his pulse a war drum as he crouched behind a thorned hedge, the moon's silver glow glinting off the razor wire encircling Evelyn Hart's estate, a gilded cage masking horrors he'd sworn to unearth. At 32, a black police officer with a badge scarred by betrayal, Marcus was a ghost in this mission, his name tarnished by a system that chewed up men like him, his redemption hinging on this gamble, breaching the fortress of a woman whose beauty and wealth veiled a suspected human trafficking empire. Shadow, his Doberman, a retired K-9 Special Forces veteran, was a shadow within shadows, its black and tan coat melting into the dark, its ears pricked, its growl a low rumble, sensing a predator's presence, not human but feral, Evelyn's Jaguar, a beast as deadly as her secrets. Marcus's breath hitched, his gloved hand gripping his pistol, his eyes scanning the estate's sprawling lawns, their manicured perfection a lie, the air thick with pine, damp earth, and something acrid, fear, captivity, a wrongness that made Shadow's hackles rise, the dog's nose twitching, catching a scent Marcus couldn't, urging him toward the mansion's looming silhouette. This was no sanctioned op, no backup waiting. His superior's warnings, Evelyn's donations, her political allies ringing hollow against the fire in his gut, stoked by years of watching justice slip through corrupt fingers. He was here to prove them wrong, to claw back his honor, and Shadow, with instincts sharper than any blade, was his only ally. Their bond forged in raids, chases, and a shared defiance of defeat. The hedge's gap was their entry, Marcus squeezing through, thorns snagging his jacket, Shadow's claws silent on the grass, their movements a symphony of trust. The Doberman's training a living pulse, its eyes glinting with purpose as they skirted a marble fountain, its gurgle a mockery of the estate's calm. The mansion's Gothic spires pierced the sky, its windows dark, but a flickering glow from a basement grate beckoned, a heartbeat of secrets that drew Marcus closer, his pistol steady, his heart in a riot of doubt and resolve. Could he take down Evelyn, a queen in a castle of lies, or would this night bury him? Shadow's growl deepened, the dog's body locking on a side gate, where a guard stood, his rifle slung, his cigarette's ember a reckless flare. Marcus signaled, and Shadow struck. A bolt of muscle, pinning the guard's arm before he could cry out, Marcus's hands smothering his mouth, his zip-tie biting flesh, the man's eyes wild as he slumped, bound, in the underbrush. But the night wasn't done. A second guard emerged, his flashlight sweeping, and Marcus dove, tackling him into the grass, his fist crashing into the man's jaw, Shadow's teeth grazing the guard's leg, silencing his radio's crackle. The struggle a breathless blur as Marcus bound him, his pulse roaring, the estate's silence now a scream. The grate was their ingress, its bolts rusted, and Marcus pried it open, Shadow slipping through, its growl a warning as they descended into a tunnel, its walls slick with damp, its air heavy with mildew and despair, the stench of captivity clawing Marcus's throat. Crates lined the passage, their labels cryptic, codes, dates, no names, but Shadow's nose zeroed in, leading to a steel door, its keypad glowing, a fortress within a fortress, unyielding to Marcus's tools. He planted a microcamera, its feed streaming to a burner phone, his hands trembling not from fear but fury, the tunnel's weight crushing, Shadow's ears twitching, sensing footsteps, human, deliberate, closing fast. Marcus's heart lurched, his pistol raised, but a deeper sound froze him, a jaguar's roar, raw, primal, echoing from the tunnel's depths, its yellow eyes glinting. Evelyn's beast, a guardian of her sins, its sleek form a death sentence in the dark. Shadow's growl was a defiance, its body coiled, teeth bared. But Marcus yanked the dog back, his pistol useless against such a monster. His mind a storm. Evelyn's Jaguar, her empire, her trafficking ring, all woven into this labyrinth. A truth he'd die to expose. The beast lunged, claws raking the air, and Marcus dove. Shadows barks a war cry. Their retreat a desperate scramble up the grate. The Jaguar's jaws snapping inches from Marcus's leg. Its roar a thunder that shook his bones. They burst into the night, the estate a gauntlet, a third guard's shout splitting the air, his rifle raised. But Marcus was faster, his shoulder slamming the man into a tree, his fist breaking teeth, Shadow's teeth clamping the guard's arm, silencing his cry. The perimeter fence was a beacon. Marcus vaulting it, his body screaming, Shadow's claws scraping. Their escape a sprint through the forest, the Jaguar's roar fading but searing, its eyes a promise of battles to come. Marcus's truck was a sanctuary, a mile out, and he collapsed inside. Shadow's warmth grounding him, his burner phone buzzing, the camera's feed a revelation. Evelyn, her silhouette unmistakable, glamorous, lethal, opening a crate, documents spilling, photos of the missing, their faces a gallery of loss, a coiled snake emblem tying her to the trafficking ring, to the crates, to a darkness Marcus had sworn to end. His hands shook, not from the bow, but from the weight of truth, the faces he'd failed, the system that had failed him, a black cop always one mistake from ruin. Shadow's gaze was steady, its growl a vow, and Marcus's resolve ignited. This was no longer about his badge, his name, it was about the lives in those photos, the captives in her web, the empire he'd tear down. He drove, the night swallowing them, their bond a fire against the dark, and Marcus knew Evelyn's Jaguar was her sword, the tunnel her heart, but he and Shadow were hunters, and they'd rip through her lies, risk everything, to set the truth free. Marcus Reed's hands gripped the steering wheel, his knuckles tight, the burner phone's grainy feed looping on its cracked screen. Evelyn Hart's silhouette burned into his mind, her gloved hands prying open a crate, documents spilling, faces of the missing staring back, a coiled snake emblem tying her to a trafficking ring he'd sworn to dismantle. The Alaskan night swallowed his truck, the forest a blur, Shadow's steady breaths filling the cab, the Doberman's black and tan coat still flecked with dirt from their escape, its amber eyes locked on the road, a sentinel whose instincts had saved them from Evelyn's Jaguar, from guards, from a tunnel that reeked of captivity. At 32, a black cop with a badge tarnished by a system that chewed up men like him, Marcus was no stranger to betrayal, but the weight of those faces, the children, the lost, pressed harder than any demotion, any whispered slur in precinct halls. His mind rewound, not to the mansion's roar, but to a night 2 years ago, a botched drug bust that broke him, a raid gone wrong, a dealer tipped off, a rookie killed, and Marcus blamed, his instincts questioned, his record stained by superiors eager to pin failure on the black officer who'd risen too fast. The inquiry was a farce, evidence lost, witnesses coached, and Marcus, once a rising star, was demoted to desk duty, his protests buried, his honor a casualty of politics and prejudice. Shadow, his canine partner, was retired, deemed too aggressive, a lie that cut deeper than his own fall. The Doberman's loyalty a mirror of his own, their bond forged in raids, in trust, in surviving a world that wanted them caged. That bust wasn't random. Marcus knew now, the dealer's files hinting at a snake emblem, a thread he'd ignored, too raw, too broken, until Evelyn's name surfaced in a missing persons case, her wealth a fortress, her beauty a mask, her charity galas a front for whispers, disappearances, auctions, a network no one dared touch. Evelyn was a phantom, her estate a black hole, her Jaguar a legend. But Marcus saw through the glamour, his gut screaming she was the key, her empire built on lives stolen, her influence choking the precinct's will to act. The burner phone's feed was his lifeline, proof she wasn't untouchable, But doubt gnawed. Could he, a disgraced Ka, take down a queen like Evelyn, or would this end like the bust? With blood and blame, Shadow's growl snapped him back, the dog's nose twitching, its body tensing as they pulled into a derelict warehouse. Marcus's safe house, its rusted walls a shield from prying eyes. He replayed the feed, Evelyn's movements surgical, her face a mask of control, but a shadow moved behind her. A guard, or someone else, someone higher. A glimpse of the snake's head. Marcus's heart raced, his demotion a wound that bled anew. The faces of the missing, a fire in his chest, their eyes pleading, their silence a call he couldn't ignore. Shadow paced, its claws clicking, its nose sniffing the warehouse floor, pausing at a corner, digging, unearthing a scrap, a cloth, torn, stained, the snake emblem embroidered, a relic left by chance or design, a clue that screamed Evelyn's reach extended here, to this forgotten place, to his city, to his life. Marcus's mind churned, the bust replaying, the dealer's smirk, the lost evidence, the snake emblem he'd dismissed. Now a beacon linking Evelyn to his fall, to the rookie's death, to a network that played gods with human lives. He remembered the precinct's whispers, Evelyn's donations, her lunches with the chief, her untouchable aura, and his superior's orders to leave her alone, their eyes avoiding his, their fear palpable. Shadow's growl deepened, the dog's gaze fixed on the warehouse door, where a twig snapped, too deliberate, and Marcus's pistol was out, his body low, his pulse a drumbeat as he crept to the window. The night alive with threats, a car's headlights flickering far off, too slow, too curious. He doused the light, Shadow at his side, their bond a steel thread, and checked the feed again, zooming on a document, names, dates, routes, a trafficking pipeline. Evelyn's signature a flourish of guilt, but another name, redacted, a ghost above her, the true mastermind. Marcus's resolve hardened, his demotion a scar, not a chain. His fight for the missing, a vow to prove the system wrong, to prove he wasn't the failure they'd branded him. Shadow's nose nudged his hand, its warmth grounding him, its growl a promise. They'd hunt Evelyn, her Jaguar, her empire, in the snake's head. No matter how high it hid, the warehouse was a bunker, its walls cold. But Marcus's fire burned, his mind mapping the next move. Dig deeper, trace the emblem, follow the feed, expose Evelyn before her influence crushed him. A rustle outside spiked his pulse, Shadow's barks erupting, and Marcus moved, pistol raised, the door creaking as he peered into the dark. A figure darting, too fast, too gone, leaving a cigarette butt, its tip glowing, the snake emblem etched on its paper. A taunt, a warning. Marcus's jaw clenched, Shadow's growl a war cry, and he knew this was personal. Evelyn's game a chessboard, his life a pawn, but he and Shadow were hunters, their scars, their strength, and they'd tear through her lies, risk everything, to free the captives, to reclaim his name, to end the snake's reign, no matter the blood it cost. Marcus Reed's knuckles whitened on the steering wheel, his truck tearing through the Alaskan night, the burner phone's flickering feed looping in his mind, Evelyn Hart's gloved hands cracking open a crate, documents spilling, faces of the missing staring back, a black eagle emblem searing her guilt into a trafficking ring he'd vowed to destroy. Shadow, his Doberman, sat rigid in the passenger seat, its black and tan coat dusted with frost from their escape, its amber eyes piercing the dark, its low growl a steady pulse, a warning born of instincts honed in Special Forces raids, instincts that had saved them from Evelyn's Jaguar, from guards, from a tunnel that reeked of human despair. At 32, a black cop with a badge scarred by betrayal, Marcus was a man on the edge, his demotion a wound that bled with every glance at the precinct's cold shoulders, every whisper of troublemaker in halls that once cheered him. The faces on the feed, children, women, stolen lives were a heavier weight, a call he couldn't ignore. A fire stoked by a night 2 years ago that broke him. It was a drug bust, a high-stakes raid on a warehouse. Marcus leading a team, Shadow at his side. Their target, a dealer with ties to the elite. The intel was solid, the plan tight, but the warehouse was empty. The dealer gone. A rookie, Jenkins, barely 20, gunned down in an ambush no one saw coming. Marcus's instincts screamed setup, but the inquiry was a guillotine. Evidence misplaced. Witnesses bought. The dealer's files hinting at a Black Eagle emblem he'd overlooked. Too raw to chase. The brass pinned it on Marcus. A black officer, too bold, too quick to rise. His demotion to desk duty a public execution. Shadow retired, branded unstable. Their bond a casualty of a system that favored silence over truth. Marcus's nights became battles, replaying Jenkins's blood, the dealer's smirk, the emblem he'd ignored. A thread that resurfaced when Evelyn's name hit his desk, linked to a missing teen. Her wealth a fortress, her charity galas a veil for whispers, disappearances, auctions, a network shielded by power. Evelyn was a specter, her estate a black hole, her Jaguar a myth whispered in fear. But Marcus saw through her allure, his gut roaring she was the architect, her empire built on broken lives, her influence strangling the precinct's courage. The feed was his proof, Evelyn's hands damning. But doubt clawed. Could he, a disgraced cop, topple a queen like her? Or would this end like the bust, with blood and blame? Shadow's growl yanked him back, the Doberman's nose twitching, its body tensing as they pulled into a derelict warehouse. Marcus's safe house, its rusted walls a bunker from prying eyes. He replayed the feed, Evelyn's movements cold, calculated. A shadow behind her, a guard, or someone higher. A glimpse of the Eagle's master? His heart thundered, his demotion a ghost. Jenkins's face afire, the missing a vow to right his wrongs. Shadow paced, its claws scraping, its nose digging at a corner, unearthing a relic, a leather strap, torn, blood-stained, the Black Eagle embroidered, a clue left by fate or foe. Proof Evelyn's reach stretched here, to this forgotten place, to his city, to his fall. Marcus's mind spun, the bust replaying the dealer's escape, the lost evidence, the eagle emblem he'd dismissed. Now a beacon tying Evelyn to his ruin, to Jenkins's death, to a network that played gods with human souls. He remembered the precinct's silence, Evelyn's donations, her grip on the chief, her untouchable aura, and his captain's order to drop it. His eyes averted, his fear a stench. Shadow's growl sharpened, the dog's gaze locked on the warehouse door, where a bottle shattered outside. A deliberate crack, and Marcus's pistol was out, his body low, his pulse a war drum as he crept to the window, the night alive with menace. A car's headlights crawling, too slow, too close. He killed the light. Shadow at his side, their bond a lifeline, and checked the feed again, zooming on a document. Names, roots, a trafficking pipeline. Evelyn's initials a signature of sin, but another name, redacted. A shadow above her, the true puppeteer. Marcus's resolve surged, his demotion a scar, not a shackle. His fight for the missing a crusade to prove the system wrong, to prove he wasn't the failure they'd branded. Shadow's nose nudged his hand, its warmth a vow, its growl a challenge, and Marcus mapped the next move, dig deeper, trace the eagle, follow the feed, expose Evelyn before her power crushed him. A shadow darted outside, too fast, too human, leaving a knife, its blade etched with the Black Eagle, plunged into the warehouse wall, a taunt, a promise. Marcus's jaw tightened. Shadow's barks a battle cry, and he knew this was war. Evelyn's game a labyrinth, his life a target. But he and Shadow were predators, their scars, their strength, and they'd hunt her empire, her Jaguar, her master. risking everything to free the captives, to reclaim his name, to end the eagle's reign, no matter the blood it demanded. Marcus Reed's boots echoed in the dim alley, the Alaskan dawn casting a gray pall over the city's underbelly, his breath fogging as he slipped into a boarded-up diner, the air thick with stale grease and desperation, a meeting point for whispers too dangerous for precinct walls. Shadow, his Doberman, moved like a specter at his side, its black and tan coat blending with the shadows, its amber eyes glinting, its growl a low warning. The retired canine's insects razor sharp, sniffing out threats Marcus couldn't see. At 32, a black cop with a badge scarred by betrayal, Marcus was a man on fire. The burner phone's feed, Evelyn Hart's gloved hands opening a crate of trafficking documents, stamped with a black eagle, burned into his mind. A truth he'd risked his life to capture. A truth that tied her to the missing, to his own fall, to a network he'd sworn to dismantle. The faces in those photos, children, women, stolen lives, haunted him. Their eyes a call to action, a vow to claw back his honor, to prove the system wrong. But the knife left at his safe house, its blade etched with the black eagle, was a taunt, a reminder that Evelyn's empire was vast, her allies powerful, her reach a noose tightening around his neck. The diner's back room was a gamble, a meet with Lena, a survivor of the trafficking ring, her name whispered by a street informant, her story a thread Marcus needed to pull. Lena was a ghost, her face gaunt, her eyes hollow, her hands trembling as she slid a torn photo across the table. A girl, no older than 12 and her sister, taken 6 months ago, last seen near Evelyn's charity gala. They marked her, Lena whispered, her voice cracking, pointing to a faint tattoo on the girl's wrist. A black eagle, crude but unmistakable, a brand of ownership. Marcus's stomach churned, his fingers tracing the emblem, the same as the crate, the knife, the dealer's files from his botched bust 2 years ago. A bust that cost him everything, his rank, his trust, Jenkins's life. Lena's words were a blade. They operate in the open. Galas, fundraisers, Evelyn's untouchable. Cops looked the other way. Marcus's jaw clenched. The precinct's silence. Orders to drop it. The chief's averted eyes. Now a betrayal. Evelyn's influence a cancer he'd cut out. Shadow's growl rumbled, the dog's nose sniffing the photo, its body tensing, catching a scent, faint, chemical, like the tunnel's crates, and Marcus's heart raced, the Doberman's instincts a guide, pointing to a lead he couldn't ignore. He slipped Lena a burner number, promising protection, but her eyes were dead, her trust broken, a mirror of his own scars. A black cop always one step from ruin in a system that favored power over justice. Back at the precinct, Marcus's desk was a prison, his demotion a chain. His reports on Evelyn met with stonewalling, Captain Heller's voice sharp. No evidence, Reed, Hart's a pillar, not a suspect. Marcus's fist balled, Heller's ties to Evelyn's donations a stench, his warnings a leash. But the burner feed was his ace. Proof Heller couldn't bury. Not yet. He dug deeper, hacking old case files, cross-referencing missing persons with Evelyn's events, finding patterns, teens vanishing after her galas, women last seen near her properties, all linked by whispers of the Black Eagle. Shadow, kenneled in Marcus's apartment, was his partner, the dog's nose unearthing a hidden clue, a pawn shop ticket in a victim's file, stamped with the eagle, tucked in a box Marcus had borrowed from evidence. The ticket led to a seedy shop, its owner a jittery man, his eyes darting as Marcus pressed, Shadow's growl loosening his tongue, a crate, delivered to Evelyn's estate, marked with the eagle. Contents, not my business. Marcus's blood surged. The crate a twin to the tunnels, a pipeline of lives, Evelyn's hands at its heart. But the shopkeeper's fear was a warning. They watch, man, they know. And Marcus's spine chilled. the knife's emblem flashing, a shadow always one step ahead. He left. Shadow's bark sharp, the dog's nose catching a tail, a car, tinted, trailing them, its driver a blur, gone before Marcus could pursue. The precinct was a battlefield, Heller's office a war room, his friendly advice to focus on real cases, a veiled threat, his eyes flicking to a photo, Evelyn smiling at a gala, Heller beside her, a black eagle pin on his lapel, subtle but damning. Marcus's heart sank. Betrayal a fist, his captain a pawn or a player. The eagle's reached deeper than he'd feared. Shadow's growl was his anchor, the dog's loyalty a fire, and Marcus slipped into the evidence room, his badge a ghost, planting a second camera feed, this one on Heller's desk, a risk that could end him but a necessity to trace the eagle's head. The night closed in, Marcus's apartment a fortress, shadow pacing, its nose sniffing a new clue, a scrap of paper, slipped under his door, the eagle emblem bold, a single word, cease. His pulse roared, the threat personal, Evelyn's game a chessboard, his life a piece, but Marcus's resolve was iron, Jenkins's blood, the missing, his demotion, all fuel for a fight he'd never quit. Shadow's barks erupted, the dog lunging at the window, a figure darting, leaving a matchbook, its cover etched with the eagle, a gala invite inside. Evelyn's name in gold. Tomorrow night. Marcus gripped the matchbook. Shadow's growl a vow. Their bond a blade. And he knew this was war. Evelyn's empire a labyrinth. Her Jaguar a guard. But he and Shadow were hunters. Their scars, their strength. And they'd tear through her lies. Risk everything. To free the captives. To end the eagle's reign. No matter the blood it carried. Marcus Reed's heart thundered as he scaled the ivy-choked wall of Evelyn Hart's estate, the Alaskan night a cloak of frost and shadow, the moon obscured by clouds that mirrored the dread pooling in his gut. Shadow, his Doberman, moved like a phantom beside him, its black and tan coat blending with the dark, its amber eyes glinting with the razor-sharp instincts of a retired K-9 Special Forces veteran. Its low growl a warning of the dangers within, Evelyn's Jaguar, her guards, her secrets, all tied to the Black Eagle emblem that marked her trafficking ring. At 32, a black cop with a badge scarred by a system that had betrayed him. Marcus was a man on a razor's edge. The burner phone's feed, Evelyn's hands opening crates of victim files. His only proof, the gala invite in his pocket, a taunt. A trap he'd walk into to end her empire. The precinct's silence. Captain Heller's black eagle pin. Lena's haunted eyes. All fueled his fire. The faces of the missing a vow to reclaim his honor. To save those trapped in Evelyn's web. Tonight he'd infiltrate her mansion. Find the tunnel's heart. And tear out the truth. No matter the cost. The estate was a fortress. Its lawns a labyrinth of floodlights and thorns. But Marcus had studied the camera feed, memorized guard patterns, his plan a desperate bid, breach the basement, secure evidence, escape before Evelyn's Jaguar or her men could strike. He slipped through a drainage culvert. Shadow's claws silent, their bond a steel thread forged in raids. The Doberman's nose sniffing a path past a guard post, where a man dozed, his rifle lax. Marcus signaled, and Shadow lunged, pinning the guard's arm, Marcus's gloved hand stifling his cry, his zip tie swift, the man's eyes wide as he slumped, bound in the grass. The basement grate was their entry, its bolts rusted, and Marcus pried it open. Shadow slipping through, its growl a faint rumble as they descended into a tunnel, its walls slick with damp, its air heavy with the stench of fear and chemicals, a crypt of secrets. Crates lined the passage, their black eagle emblems stark, and Marcus's pulse surged, his flashlight catching labels, dates, routes, coded names, a pipeline of lives. Shadow's nose zeroed in, leading to a steel vault, its keypad glowing, A lock Marcus cracked with a stolen code from the pawn shop lead, his hands trembling not from fear but fury, the door hissing open to reveal shelves of files, laptops, and ledgers, each stamped with the eagle, a ledger of suffering. He scanned a file, photos of the missing, auction records. Evelyn's initials scrawled, a redacted name above her, the mastermind he couldn't yet touch. Shadow's growl spiked, its body tensing, and Marcus froze. Footsteps echoing, guards, alerted, their radios crackling. Intruder, basement. His heart sank, his camera feed compromised. Evelyn's eyes on him, her counterstrike imminent. He stuffed a ledger into his jacket, grabbed a USB from a laptop, and bolted. Shadow leading, but a roar, primal, bone-shaking, split the tunnel. The Jaguar's yellow eyes glinting, its sleek form charging. Evelyn's beast unleashed. Marcus dove behind a crate. Shadow's barks a war cry. The Doberman lunging, teeth grazing the Jaguar's flank, buying Marcus seconds as claws raked the air, splintering wood. He fired, his pistols flash blinding, the bullet grazing the beast's shoulder, its snarl a promise of death. But Shadow held its ground, a wall of muscle, giving Marcus time to sprint. The USB and ledger clutched tight, the tunnel a gauntlet of crates and dread. Guards surged from a side passage, their rifles spitting, bullets pinging, and Marcus rolled, his knife slashing a man's leg, blood spraying, Shadow tackling another, its teeth sinking into flesh, their fight a desperate dance. The grate loomed, Marcus vaulting through, Shadow behind, the Jaguar's roar chasing, its claws scraping the tunnel's edge. Inches from his back, they burst into the lawn, floodlights blinding, alarms wailing, and Marcus ran, Shadow's barks guiding. A guard's shout cut short as Marcus's fist broke his nose. The man crumpling. The fence was a beacon, Marcus scaling it, his jacket tearing, Shadow leaping. Their escape a sprint through the forest. The Jaguar's roar fading but searing, its eyes a vow of vengeance. Marcus's truck was sanctuary, his body shaking, Shadow's warmth grounding him. The USB and ledger his prize, proof of Evelyn's crimes, names, dates, millions in transactions. The Black Eagle tying her to the missing, to his own fall. The burner phone buzzed, a new feed from his precinct camera. Heller, on a call, his voice low. She's on to him. Move now. A betrayal that cut deeper than the Jaguar's claws. Marcus's blood boiled. Evelyn's counterstrike already in motion. Her influence a web. Heller her pawn. The Eagle's master still hidden. Shadow's growl was a promise. Its loyalty a fire. And Marcus's resolve hardened. He'd expose Evelyn. Dismantle her empire. Hunt the mastermind. No matter the blood. The cost. The system that branded him a failure. The night was a battleground. The USB a weapon. The ledger a map. And Marcus drove. Shadow's gaze steady. Their bond a blade against the dark. Ready to strike at Evelyn's heart. To free the captives. To reclaim his name. To end the Eagle's reign. A bone-shattering roar erupted, splitting the Alaskan night as Marcus Reed dove behind a marble fountain, his body slamming into the frozen grass, the stolen ledger and USB digging into his ribs, bullets from Evelyn Hart's guards tearing through the air, and a Jaguar, her lethal pet, lunging from the shadows, its yellow eyes locked on him, a predator unleashed to end his hunt. Shadow, his Doberman, snarled beside him, its black and tan coat bristling, its amber eyes blazing with the ferocity of a retired K-9 Special Forces veteran, its teeth bared, ready to meet the beast head-on. Their bond a lifeline in the chaos of Evelyn's estate, where alarms wailed, floodlights burned, and the Black Eagle emblem on the ledger branded her trafficking empire. At 32, a black cop with a badge scarred by betrayal, Marcus was a man forged in fire, the faces of the missing, children, women, stolen lives, driving him to risk everything. the precinct's corruption. Heller's whispered call to Evelyn, a betrayal that fueled his rage to tear her down. The mansion's lawn was a killing ground, guards converging, their rifles spitting, but the Jaguar was the true terror, its claws raking the earth, Evelyn's final weapon, a beast trained to slaughter, her wrath incarnate. Marcus's pistol had one round left, his knife slick with blood from the tunnel fight, his body battered, shoulder grazed by a bullet, ribs bruised from a guard's boot, but Shadow's growl was his anchor, the Doberman's instincts a beacon as they bolted from the fountain, aiming for the perimeter fence, their only escape from this gilded inferno. A guard's shout, "Cut him off!" unleashed a hail of bullets, one nicking Marcus's arm. Pain, a white-hot scream, and he stumbled, Shadow's body shielding him. The dog's barks a challenge as the Jaguar charged, a streak of gold and black, its roar a death knell. Marcus rolled, his knife flashing, but Shadow was faster. A missile of muscle, slamming into the Jaguar, teeth snapping, claws tearing, a clash of beasts that shook the earth, fur flying, blood staining the snow. Marcus scrambles up, his pistol raised, firing his last shot, the bullet grazing a guard's leg. The man's cry lost in the Jaguar's snarl, and he lunged, tackling another guard, his knife slashing the man's thigh, blood spraying, his fist breaking bone, the guard crumpling. Shadow's yelp pierced his soul, the Jaguar's claws raking the Doberman's side on, blood gushing. But Shadow fought, its jaws clamping the cat's shoulder, dragging it down. A primal struggle of survival. Marcus glimpsed Evelyn on the balcony, her silhouette sharp, her white dress a ghostly glow, her eyes cold, commanding, a queen whose empire he'd cracked, her voice a hiss, "Kill him," as more guards surged, their rifles blazing. Shadow's cry was a dagger, the Jaguar's teeth on its leg, blood pooling, and Marcus roared, diving into the fray, his knife slashing the Jaguar's flank, its snarl a scream as it recoiled, Shadow's teeth sinking deeper, forcing it back. The Jaguar staggered, wounded, its eyes wild, and retreated, limping into the oaks. Evelyn shout a curse, her guards faltering, their rifles dropping as Marcus pulled Shadow free. The dog's side on torn, its leg bleeding, but alive, its growl a defiant pulse, its loyalty a fire that burned through agony. Marcus hoisted Shadow, his own wound screaming, arm bleeding, shoulder throbbing, his body a map of pain, and scaled the fence, his jacket shredding, thorns cutting, the estate's alarms fading, the Jaguar's roar a fading echo, Evelyn's wrath a storm he'd survived. For now, and the forest was a gauntlet, branches clawing, Marcus's legs burning as he carried Shadow. The ledger and USB his lifeline, proof of auctions, routes, names, Evelyn's crimes exposed, the Black Eagle tying her to Heller, to a mastermind still cloaked. His truck was a haven, Marcus laying Shadow on the seat, tearing his shirt to bandage its wounds, his hands shaking, not from cold, but from dread, from the sight of Shadow's blood, the dog that had fought a Jaguar and won, that had saved him again. The burner phone buzzed, a precinct feed. Heller, pacing, his voice a snarl. "She's moving. Eliminate Reed." A betrayal that cut deeper than claws. Evelyn's counterstrike already in motion. Her influence a web. Heller her pawn. The Eagle's master a shadow Marcus couldn't yet touch. His arm bled, his vision blurred. But Marcus's resolve was iron, the missing, Jenkins's blood, his demotion, all a vow to end this, to free the captives, to hunt the Eagle's head, no matter the tied. Shadow's eyes met his, weak but unyielding, its growl a promise, and Marcus drove. The night a battlefield, their bond a blade, ready to carve through Evelyn's empire, to face her next trap, to save those she'd chained, even if it took their last breath. The USB was a beacon, the ledger a map, and Marcus's fire burned, a black cop against a system, A man against a monster, a hunter against a queen, with Shadow's heart beating beside his. A vow to see this through, to the end. Marcus Reed's hands trembled as he uploaded the USB's files to a secure server. The stolen ledger opened on his safe house table. Its pages a damning litany of Evelyn Hart's crimes, names, dates, auction records, all stamped with the Black Eagle. Proof of a trafficking ring that had stolen countless lives. Proof he'd bled for. Proof that could end her empire or bury him. Shadow lay at his feet, its black and tan coat matted with bandages, its amber eyes dim but unyielding. The Doberman's wounds, deep gashes from the Jaguar's claws, a torn leg, testaments to its sacrifice in their escape from Evelyn's estate. A battle that had left Marcus scarred too, his shoulder bandaged, his arms stitched, his body a map of pain, but his resolve a fire. At 32, a black cop with a badge tarnished by a corrupt system, Marcus was a man on the edge. The faces of the missing, children, women, broken souls, driving him to risk everything. Captain Heller's betrayal, Evelyn's wrath, a mastermind still hidden, all threats he'd faced to free the captives, to reclaim his name, the burner phone's feed, Heller's voice. She wants him gone now, was a knife, proof Evelyn knew he'd struck to her heart, her counterstrike looming. But Marcus was done hiding. He sent the files to Lena, the trafficking survivor, to a journalist he trusted, and to a federal agent outside Heller's reach, a triple strike to ensure Evelyn's fall, no matter who she owned. The safe house was a bunker, its windows boarded, its air heavy with the stench of antiseptic and fear. Shadow's labored breaths a rhythm Marcus clung to, the dog's loyalty a lifeline after the Jaguar's claws, the guard's bullets, the tunnel's secrets. Dawn broke, and Marcus drove, Shadow in the passenger seat, to a federal courthouse. The USB and ledger his weapons, his heart pounding as reporters swarmed, their cameras flashing. Lena's face among them, her eyes fierce, her sister's photo a banner for the wound. He handed the evidence to Agent Torres, a Fed with no love for precinct politics, her nod a promise to act. But Heller was there, his Black Eagle pin glinting, his voice a hiss. You're done, Reed, a threat backed by power, by Evelyn's allies, by a system that shielded the guilty. Marcus's jaw clenched, his scars burning. But the courthouse doors burst open. Evelyn, heart in cuffs, her white dress pristine, her beauty a mask, her eyes locking on Marcus, cold, venomous, a queen dethroned but not broken. The feds move fast, raids hitting serpents' bases, children freed, names from the ledger found alive, some not. But Evelyn's lawyers, sharks in suits, circled, her influence a hydra, her allies in high places, senators, CEOs, even Heller pushing back. Their pressure a vice on Marcus. Threats whispered in precinct halls, a car tailing his truck, a brick through his window, the eagle emblem carved into it. Torres warned him, they'll bury you, Reed. She's got friends who own judges. But Marcus stood firm, his voice on the news, his story, black cop, disgraced, fighting for the missing, spreading, Lena's testimony amplifying, the public's outrage a tide, hashtags trending, protests outside Evelyn's gala venues, her empire crumbling under scrutiny. Shadow's bravery was the spark, the Jaguar fight a legend, photos of the bloody Doberman viral, a symbol of defiance, of loyalty, of a cop and his dog against a monster. Marcus faced Heller, his captain's eyes dodging, his excuses thin, misunderstanding, Reed. But Marcus's evidence, the USB's roots, the ledger's auctions, was ironclad. Heller's pin a confession, his suspension a crack in Evelyn's shield. But the mastermind, the redacted name above Evelyn's, was a ghost. The D.C. address a dead end, the eagle's head untouched, and Marcus's gut screamed danger. Evelyn's glare in court a promise. She'd fight, Her allies would strike, her fall not the end. The precinct was a war zone. Colleagues split, some clapping Marcus's back, others shunning him, their loyalty bought or broken. And Torres's rage slowed, budgets cut, her team stretched, Evelyn's lawyer stalling, her bail hearing looming. Marcus's apartment was a fortress, Shadow's wounds healing but slow, the dog's growl a constant, its nose sniffing a new threat, a package, unmarked, left at his door, a black eagle pendant inside, a note, "You can't stop us." His blood ran cold, the mastermind's hand clear, Evelyn a pawn in a larger game, her trafficking ring a branch. "Not the root," Lena called, her voice shaking. "They're watching me, Marcus." Her sister safe but her fear alive, and Marcus vowed protection. His network, Lena, Torres, the journalist, growing, their trust in him a shield against the eagle's reach. Shadow's barks woke him, the dog lunging at the window, a figure darting, too fast, leaving a burner phone, its message a video. Evelyn, in a cell, smiling. "You think this ends with me?" Marcus's heart sank. The eagle's shadow vast, but Shadow's eyes met his, fierce, unbroken, a vow to fight, to free, to hunt. The public's support was his armor, protests swelling, the missing found. But Marcus knew the war wasn't won. The mastermind's silence a storm brewing, Evelyn's fall a battle, not the victory. He stood, Shadow at his side, the ledger his map, the USB his sword, his scars his strength, a black cop against a system, a man against a shadow, ready to face the eagle's next strike, to save the lost, to end this. No matter the blood it come once, Bacchus Reed stood in the precinct's briefing room, the weight of his restored badge heavy on his chest, its shine a stark contrast to the scars he bore, stitches on his arm, a bandage on his shoulder, and deeper wounds no one saw, etched by betrayal, loss, and a fight that had nearly cost him everything. The room buzzed with reporters, their cameras flashing, against Torres at his side, her voice steady as she detailed the takedown of Evelyn Hart's trafficking ring. The USB and ledger, marked with the Black Eagle, unveiling a network that had stolen countless lives, now crumbling under federal raids. Shadow, his Doberman, lay at his feet, its black and tan coat dull, its amber eyes clouded, its body a map of bandages, gashes from the Jaguar's claws, a leg stitched but limp, wounds that had saved Marcus but left the dog broken, a hero whose bravery had sparked public outcry, forcing the precinct to reinstate Marcus, to honor a black cop they'd once discarded. At 32, Marcus was a man reborn, his demotion erased, Heller suspended, the faces of the missing, Lena's sister, others from the ledger, freed or mourned. But victory was bitter, Shadow's pain a constant ache, the mastermind behind the eagle still a ghost. Evelyn's cold smile in court a warning of battles unended. The precinct's applause was hollow, colleagues who'd shunned him now nodding, their respect a veneer, the system's flaws unchanged. But Marcus's fire burned, for the victims, for Jenkins, for Shadow, whose sacrifice had turned the tide, whose fight with the Jaguar was a legend, a viral symbol of defiance. He knelt, stroking Shadow's fur, the dog's weak nudge a knife in his heart, its injuries too deep, its days as a canine warrior done, a truth Marcus couldn't outrun. The ledger's names haunted him, the USB's roots a map to lives saved, but the redacted name, the DC address, the eagle's head, loomed, a shadow Evelyn's arrest hadn't touched, her lawyers stalling, her allies, senators, moguls, whispering threats, a car tailing his truck, a black eagle pendant left at his door, a note. This isn't over. Marcus's resolve wavered, not for himself but for Shadow, the dog that had fought a Jaguar, that had carried him through hell, now struggling to stand, its growl faint but fierce, a vow unbroken. He met Lena at a shelter, her sister safe, her eyes grateful but shadowed, her warning sharp. They're still out there, Marcus. They don't forget. She handed him a photo, a victim's bracelet, the eagle etched, a clue to the mastermind's reach, and Marcus's gut twisted. The fight personal, the eagle's claws deep in his city, his life. Torres called, her voice grim. Raids are slowing, budgets cut, someone's pulling strings. Marcus knew who, Evelyn's allies, the eagle's master, a power beyond the precinct, beyond Alaska, and he vowed to hunt them, to end this, but not with Shadow, not anymore. The dog's wounds were a mirror of his own, scars that healed but never faded, a cost too high to ask again. He took Shadow to a vet, the diagnosis a blade, permanent nerve damage, chronic pain, a life of rest, not raids. Marcus's throat tightened, his nights spent beside Shadow. The Doberman's warmth a lifeline, their bond a fire that had burned through Evelyn's empire, through Heller's betrayal, through a system that had branded him a failure. He remembered Jenkins' blood, the bus that broke him, the eagle emblem he'd ignored, now a beacon tying his fall to Evelyn, to the mastermind. A war he'd finish, but not at Shadow's cost. The precinct offered medals, promotions, but Marcus refused. His honor not in their brass, but in the lives saved, in Shadow's eyes, in the truth he'd clawed from the dark. He met Elias, a father from the ledger, his daughter freed, his gratitude raw. You gave her back, Reed. And Marcus saw a path, not as a cop, but a protector, a trainer, a man who turned pain into purpose. Shadow's retirement was a loss, a piece of Marcus torn, but it was a choice, a vow to save the dog that had saved him, to build something new, a center for rescue dogs, for healing, for second chances. The threats didn't stop. A black eagle graffitied on his truck, a call warning. Back off, Reed. But Marcus's network grew. Lena, Torres, Elias, allies forged in fire, their trust a shield against the eagle's reach. He stood in his apartment, Shadow beside him, the ledger closed, the USB safe, the photo of the bracelet a lead to D, C, to the mastermind. A fight for another day. The public's voice roared, protest demanding justice. Evelyn's bail denied, her allies exposed. But Marcus knew the eagle's head watched, its silence a storm. Shadow's growl was soft, its nudge a vow, and Marcus's heart steadied, his scars a map, his purpose clear. He'd build a haven, train dogs, save lives. And when the eagle struck, he'd be ready, not as a cop, but as a man who'd learned from a tool what loyalty meant, what it can, what it won. The night was quiet, but Marcus's fire burned, Shadow's breath a rhythm, their bond a blade, a black cop against a shadow, ready to face the next war, to end the eagle's reign, to give the missing the voice, no matter the blood it took. Marcus Reed knelt in the snow-dusted field of his newly opened rescue dog training center, the Alaskan sun casting long shadows across the kennels, its golden rays a quiet promise of renewal, a stark contrast to the blood and betrayal that had forged this haven. Shadow, his Doberman, sat beside him, its black and tan coat scarred but proud, its amber eyes steady despite the limp in its leg, a lasting mark of the Jaguar's claws, a sacrifice that had toppled Evelyn Hart's trafficking empire and restored Marcus's honor. At 32, a black former cop who'd clawed his way back from disgrace, Marcus was a man transformed, his badge retired, his purpose reborn in this center, a sanctuary for rescue dogs, for veterans, for families like Lena's, whose sister was safe, for Elias, whose daughter was free, all saved by the ledger and USB, stamped with the Black Eagle that had exposed Evelyn's crimes. The center buzzed with life, trainers barking commands, dogs learning to track, to guard, their wagging tails a defiance of the pain they'd endured, a mirror of Marcus's own journey, his scars, stitches, bruises, and deeper wounds, a map of survival, of a fight that had freed dozens, ended Heller's career, but left the Eagle's mastermind, a redacted name in WC, still free, a shadow Marcus couldn't shake. The town hailed him, their applause at the opening ceremony deafening, their signs, hero cop, hero dog, a tribute to Shadow's battle with the Jaguar, a viral legend that had turned public outrage into justice, forcing Evelyn's conviction, her empire shattered, her allies exposed. But Marcus's heart was heavy. Shadow's slow steps, a daily reminder of the shitting, the dog's nerve damage, a chain no vet could break. Its growl softer but fierce, a vow that echoed his own, to protect, to heal, to give second chances. The center was their legacy, its kennels full, its classes teaching resilience. Marcus's voice calm as he trained a shy mutt, his hands gentle, his scars a lesson. Pain could build, not just break. Lena volunteered, her sister's smile alight. Elias led vet outreach, their gratitude afire. But the Black Eagle lingered, its emblem a ghost, graffiti on the center's gate, a pendant at Marcus's door, threats that whispered the mastermind's reach. Evelyn's trial, a battle won, not the war. Marcus's nights were restless, the D.C. address a dead end. Torres's rage stalled, her voice grim. They're protecting someone big, Reed, and he knew the Eagle's head watched. Its silence a storm. A new clue came at dusk. As Marcus locked the kennels, Shadow's growl erupting, its body rigid, eyes fixed on a stranger at the center's edge. A woman, her coat plain, her hands clutching a sealed envelope, her voice a hiss. You stopped her, not them. Look closer. Marcus's pulse surged, his hand on his knife. Shadow's barks sharp, but the woman dropped the envelope and fled, her footsteps vanishing into the pines. He tore it open, his heart sinking. A photo, grainy, a man in a suit, the Black Eagle on his cuff, meeting a senator. The D.C. address scrawled, a name partially visible. V. Shadow's growl didn't stop, its nose sniffing the envelope, catching a scent, chemical, like the tunnel's crates. In Marcus's gut twisted, the mastermind's hand clear. Evelyn a pawn, her trafficking ring a cog in a machine that stretched beyond Alaska, beyond his fight. The center was his shield, its fences high, its cameras live. Marcus's team, Lena, Elias, trainers, working as one, their mission to train, to protect, to ensure no child, no family, faced Evelyn's chains. He taught tracking, crisis response, his voice a beacon, shadow watching, its presence calming the most skittish dogs, its legacy a light in the dark. The community grew, donations pouring in, veterans finding purpose, kids like Elias's daughter laughing, a hope Marcus had bled for. But the photo stayed with him, taped to his desk, the eagle a warning that peace was fragile. One morning, as Marcus led a class, Shadow's growl roared, the dog limping to a delivery van, its driver a stranger, his sleeve slipping to reveal an eagle tattoo, his package, empty, save a card. You're next, dropped as he sped off, a taunt from the mastermind. Marcus's jaw set, his pistol a constant weight, Shadow's eyes meeting his, a vow unbroken, and he stood in the field, the center alive, Lena's voice calling a dawn, Elias's nod a promise. The war wasn't over. The eagle's shadow vast, but Marcus was forged in fire, his center a fortress, his purpose a blade. He'd train dogs, save lives, protect this hope. And when the mastermind struck, he'd hunt, not as a cop, but as a man who'd learned from Shadow what courage cost, what it won. The sun rose, its light catching Shadow's scars, a testament to their fight. A black man and his dog against a system, against a shadow, ready for the next battle, to end the eagle's reign, to give the lost a future, no matter the blood it took. From a Doberman's clash with a Jaguar to a cop's fight against a trafficking ring, Marcus's saga gripped us. Thanks for joining. Like, share, and subscribe for more thrilling tales. Hit the bell for notifications and dive into our next adventure.